They usually do. Yeah.
But it's by number now.
Yeah.
Isn't that exciting?
I wondered, when I first got here, I wondered why we didn't sit that way. So that was interesting.
But,
Yeah, and that way I am too. Yeah, because the public will know too.
right, it's much easier.
Yeah. And when it comes time to election, then you know, okay, oh, he's three, so, okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Smart.
Really good. All right, Shelley, you're gonna have to get us started, girl.
Oh my gosh. I can barely get into my computer, let alone get us started.
Well, I'm in year 4 and the same is true for.
Good to know, good to know.
Sometimes I'm like, yeah.
4 years and now you just signed up for another.
I know. Crazy.
Guys, good for you.
Took me a while to think it over, but pray it through.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. What's the biggest change that happened over your 4 years? Besides the change in name.
You mean in the city? Probably Purple Pipe.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now that it's almost done, that'll be, well, I'm hoping that'll be a big benefit for us.
Yeah.
I think once we start using it and finding new ways to use this, and stuff like that, hopefully it'll be.
Yes. Fixing up. Yeah.
I would say like as.
Is that jumpsuit? I have the same one, but in red, and I almost wore it. Love that.
One of my friends, well, it's really my daughter's. Yeah. Has a blue jumpsuit.
Yeah.
She wore it tonight to my swearing in.
I
was
love
like,
it.
let's get a picture.
Yes, ma'am. So these are the people that have signed up for public comment.
Okay.
So.
And this is very different too.
Yes, actually, because my computer will probably
So
die.
I take my notes and I put them in a note. I'm gonna do that because I want to be.
If not, I have it. Okay.
This, no, that's
Okay.
That's the best part.
They're on.
So just whatever I took notes on, because if I took notes on paper. Did you write? Purple? That's big. There's. How to do that. Do anything on paper, I won't take those home. Everything you take home. Got that. And. Yeah.
So.
Yep, if you take that home.
Yeah.
Request.
Yes, that's right. I'm also chewing gum. I will do that every time.
Yeah, so
So.
that's 6 o'clock. Okay.
Where is it? Right here.
Where? Parking. Somebody says.
I keep them in my-
we did a public
Just need
discussion
their
yesterday.
name.
If you took this home.
Sit right here.
Whether you took notes on it or not, because you took it.
Let's see to sit inside.
I feel like.
Yeah.
Yes.
So whenever.
Did they sign it? Oh, okay.
Shelley.
Hey, how's it going?
Hi.
Love. You, I love that movie so. Yeah, it's like literally.
Danielle.
Second one, I don't know. Well,
Oh, and then we'll send it. Okay, sounds good.
care if I sign stuff in ink.
Yeah.
We all here?
Was borrowing a room.
Oh, signing stuff in ink.
How are you?
Oh.
Doesn't matter.
Apparently.
Did you-
Oh. Yeah. Well, I like it because then you can tell like signs of not to. I'll log in as if I'm gonna use this.
Like, as a city council.
Nope, I got it. I got it. No problem at all.
Maybe I won't. Ready? Ready? Ready?
Stuff scattered all over here.
I better pull this agenda up.
Until it's official, then.
I don't really want. You told me.
So exciting. Hi, welcome. I'd like to call this meeting to order at 6 p.m. on January 13th. And we have a lot of things, but we'll start with a roll call.
Honorable Mayor Martin,
Present.
Councilmember Han,
Present.
Councilmember Bartels,
Present.
Councilmember Bookma,
Present.
Councilmember Long,
Present.
Councilmember Nazaro,
Present.
Councilmember Bila,
Present.
Councilmember LeVar.
Present.
Thank you, Shelley. The first item of business is an action item. And that is to,
Do you want me to take it?
yes, I do. Thank you.
Your Honor. We are in need of an interim city administrator. Mayor Martin has asked for your consideration to please appoint Todd Abelman into that post. It is a 3-month post. Can be extended by either party if they need to, but I know she's looking actively for a city administrator. And so I am asking for approval of that resolution. I don't have the number in front of me to appoint Todd Abelman as our interim city administrator, please. 416.
460.
460. Maybe I should retire.
If there's, go for it.
No, I was under the impression that he would be fishing nonstop for the next 50 years. So the fact that Todd would like to come back and serve us, I find as a great benefit to our city. You have a ton of experience with our city and it would be a huge blessing to us. So
Very much
if,
agreed.
yeah,
Did you want to make the
no,
motion?
you can make it and I'll second it.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve F 460.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, get to work, Todd.
Sure.
Thank you. Motion approved. Thank you. All right, so at this point in our meeting, we have some citizen comments. I have 2 folks who have signed up for public comment. And the first here in the room is Tim Steiner. So will you please state your name?
Mayor, Council, Tim Steiner, 116 North 6th. Coming to talk to you today about College Avenue. Over the last several years, there's been a lot of talk about closing that and creating a pedestrian mall. I provided you with some visual things here. Currently, there's 38 feet of sidewalk on that street. If that isn't enough for the pedestrians that frequent that street, I'm not sure what's going to go on. It's a vital piece of parking for the downtown area. Right now, there's 6 parking spaces, except that nobody can park downtown, and there's usually spaces for about four cars there. And businesses, need customers. Customers generally drive. I'm a new business owner in downtown Cheney, the Station Golf, and my customers are going to be carrying golf clubs into my business, and they don't want to park down blocks and blocks away. We do have some businesses that do pedestrian traffic, but those are tenants. Those are not the landowners. And the landowners, the people that own the property on College Avenue, have not been contacted about the fact that College Avenue has been talked about being closed. And I know this because I belong to an organization that's never had any communication from the city about closing that. Tenants, maybe yes, but tenants come and go. The landowners are there for the long run. There's a lot of spaces in downtown that we've lost spaces, parking spaces. The little depot things that are out there. Is that my 2 minutes?
That's your 2 minutes.
Wow. Okay.
You have a
Well,
closing thought?
Diagonal parking, page 2, take out half some of the brick. 12 spaces need parking.
Thank you, Tim. And Next, we have, I believe it's Lisa.
Yeah.
And you can state your name and your address for the record. And again, a reminder, 2 minutes. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. If it pleases the council, Alicia DeLucci. I do go by Lisa. Please feel free to call me Lisa. From Cheney and Moses Lake. First and foremost, blessings to 2026, and I look forward to working with the new members and all of you in optimism and positivity to help create a more elevated environment here in Cheney while I'm here. I need some help with some direction because I actually wanted to speak about the Safer Grant and I see that it's actually on the agenda. Would it be most appropriate for me to yield the rest of my time over to during that?
Welcome to speak.
Okay,
This is your opportunity now.
okay, I wasn't sure because it said public hearings. I would strongly encourage you guys to stand in leadership and to please support the Safer Grant and passing that for a numerous amount of details that some of you are already aware of. So that our community doesn't get hurt and liabilities don't occur. I also would like to encourage you guys to stand in leadership. And if you guys need some assistance with any extra funding, please reach out to the governor's office, as well as Representative Tom Dent from the 13th District. He's really big on finding money and supporting the fire. And he, anything that has to do with like the fire departments and whatnot. And he actually got his second kudos or last year and this year, both during the state of address that the governor gave, which Governor Ferguson did today. He gave Representative Dent kudos, and it does have to do with some fire bills. And I did already apprise both of them, but I asked that you stand in leadership, maybe write a letter. And if you guys need some help with that and verbiage or how, you know, in verbiage and how to present it or whatnot, please reach out to me because I am happy to assist in helping get you guys the money necessary to fill those gaps.
Thank
Please,
you.
thank you. And sorry, I went over my time.
Thank you. That's all that has signed up. Is there anyone else who did not have a chance to sign up who would like to give comment? Do we have anyone online? Okay. All right, so the next item is our minutes from last council meeting, which was in 2025. Have you all had a chance to review them?
Move to approve the meeting minutes from December 9th as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes. The next item is our vouchers and payroll. Oh, thank you. That'll teach me to read. And so then there's a second set of meeting minutes from our special city council meeting last week. Have you had a chance to review those?
I'd make a motion to approve the minutes from the special city council meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. All right, now let's do vouchers and payroll, Cindy.
Thank you, Your Honor. This is the time of the year when you will have both 2025 and 2026 approvals for this meeting and probably the next 3. So when those are being read, just understand that we're approving 2025, 2026, and then we'll do payroll. So 2025 payables were $256,318.27. 2026 were excuse me, put my glasses on. $892,050.50. And our December payroll was $1,344,416.31.
Your Honor, the Finance Committee has reviewed the 2025 vouchers, the 2026 vouchers, and the December payroll. And I would move for approval as presented.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. So all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. And you also have the small contracts that I approved this past couple weeks. Chess camp, and actually I think that's all. So chess camp, which is coming up in this summer. Yes. Are we ready for that? Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Talk about the 2035 Connect plan and I apologize. Do you have a PowerPoint on it?
Thank you, Todd.
Honorable Mayor Martin and members of the City Council, greetings. It's a pleasure being out here tonight. My first City Council meeting anywhere this year. So it's a great honor to be the City of Cheney's transit system, Spokane Transit Authority. We are a public transportation benefit area authority under state law, incorporated in 1981 to provide service around the region's metropolitan area, including the City of Cheney. So we get that presentation up. Okay, that's okay. Too many windows. I suffer from that same ailment many times a day. I can just say that we have a long and storied history with the City of Cheney and improvements and changes over time, both with improvements inside the city as well as with our partner agency, Eastern Washington University, as an institution that brings a lot of ridership here. Of the cities we serve, Cheney has long had a good relationship with transit. In fact, as I was walking from my bus stop for Route 6 today across Second Street rather, and as you may know, from 1908 or so until 1922, there was an electric interurban railroad that ran from Spokane to the Mexican restaurant, which was the depot for the Washington Water Power interurban line, and was developed to serve. Part of the idea was serving commuting students to the Cheney normals. So we might be farther along, maybe. Maybe I have some other factoids I can share. I will add then, as a PTBA, we are governed by a board of directors that is comprised of members of the jurisdictions we serve. So there are 9 voting members of the board, and it is proportionate to population. And so the small cities of Medical Lake, Millwood, Liberty Lake, Cheney, Airway Heights, all share one of those 9 positions, and it rotates every 2 years, the elected position, but we also still have a non-elected or non-voting positions on the board. And has that confirmation already occurred?
I think so.
Okay, so we are expecting that Mayor Martin to participate in the STA board as a non-voting member, but one who can engage in the conversations and the executive sessions and the deliberations of the board. So we're thankful
Yeah,
that
I'm looking
you're
forward.
joining us, and I think
Yeah.
there's a orientation session
Thursday.
Thursday.
Hope so.
Yes,
That's
great.
when it is on my calendar.
That's what it is. Getting closer. Okay. Well, I can can't do interpretive dances, but I can pantomime.
Darn, I was looking forward to that.
So it's opening a window and edge rather than PowerPoint.
Yay. There we go. You wanna, yeah, can you make it full screen, Shelly?
Thinking about it.
Thank you. There we go.
There we go.
Way to go, Shelly.
Thank you so much.
It's never more difficult than when everyone's looking at you.
So I'm going to recap, in addition to the history lesson and the other stall tactics I brought forward, share with you a recap of our ST moving forward, ST moving forward plan, talk about our new comprehensive or strategic plan rather, Connect 2035, and talk about just what transit brings to the community. Maybe you can forward for me. There we go. Okay. So in 2016, voters approved a 0.2% sales tax increase to provide more and better transit around the region. Basically, the tax rate that had been established in 1981 was effectively in place. Since that time, there was an increase in 2002 to make up for lost funding from the state. But in general, this level of service we were providing was more or less static from 1981. We presented to voters, the board brought forward a measure to increase service levels and identified major corridors that are listed in blue or identified in blue there as corridors to invest in high performance transit, included connecting into Cheney, other areas to add new and better bus service, new transit centers like the West Plains Transit Center. And voters approved that. Actually, a majority of voters in every jurisdiction within the PTBA. There's a video here that highlights the improvements. And so thank you so much for pulling this up. We'll see if we can, if you can't hear it, you can still feel it, okay? You have great fiber connections in Cheney. Read about it, Cheney Free Press.
Really do.
So this is maybe on the Vimeo side that's delaying it. You know, we can skip the video. Just, does highlight the fact that we've delivered effectively all the projects of the plan. There's two outstanding things. We're working to acquire real estate in the city of Liberty Lake for a future park and ride site. We also have a project to connect on a pilot basis to Idaho, subject to their partnership. So that's the one real service level that is still outstanding. But I think as relevant to City of Cheney and this community in the West Plains, one of the really exciting projects that came about in 2018 and then it has been augmented has been a new transit center at Medical Lake Interchange. It came in basically, it preceded the introduction of Amazon on the West Plains. But what it did was allowed us to connect the cities of Airway Heights, Medical Lake, and Cheney without the traditional traveling all the way to Spokane to come back all the way out to the West Plains. And we've since that time increased the service frequency, increased the efficiency of getting in and out of that facility. In 2024, I don't have yet 2025 data, 147,000 riders caught a bus at the West Plains Transit Center in that year. This shows our overall service levels. Thank you so much for returning to the presentation here. 35% increase of service overall, system-wide. That's actually higher than the target we had identified of just under 500,000 hours of service growth, or 25% increase. There we go. Go to the next slide. Maybe you're able to control that better than I can. I don't know, maybe I'm pointing the wrong direction. Okay, so just some pictures. Top right is at West Plains Transit Center. Since that time, we also introduced high performance transit to Cheney. You see those key stops like at Six and Betts, they have the real-time information sign, lit shelters that make it easier, more comfortable to wait, especially at night. And then those double-decker buses really helping us actually deliver more efficient service to EWU, providing a really cool ride. I got a great photo of the twilight and the sunset this evening as I took the bus up the hill. So again, ultimately, we've added more service across the system to deliver more and better transit service to our communities. So based on that success, based on the fact we in 2024, of all the transit agencies nationwide with more than 5 million rides a year, so kind of mid-sized to larger agencies, STA was only one of 7 that had surpassed pre-pandemic ridership on an annual basis. So the investments we've made in more service, quality of that service, in our partnership and providing zero fare for youth, 18 and younger, really drove that success. And I think just the overall, we get feedback from our riders, from the community, that transit is valuable. So based on that, based on the fact that as we got to this time period, we actually, we had expected to be, hey, we delivered everything. Now we just need to maintain that. We actually are in a position to invest more. How come? Well, during the pandemic, the federal government invested in transit to sustain operations. We use that operation funding to sustain operations for a time, but because we didn't add more service because of that, or we didn't have the same financial fiscal cliffs other agencies faced. If you read about cities like in the Bay Area or Chicago, where transit is required major infusion of new taxes to sustain it, we were actually able to deliver our program and have funds, basically one-time funds that are available to invest in transit. They are not insignificant. With our capital program there's still about $85 million to spend, plus our capital program to deliver on things like Division Street BRT and other major investments. So overall, we have well over $100 million to make new investments, one-time money. So Connect 2035 was the board's response to this opportunity. They wanted to make sure they didn't position the agency, hey, let's spend all this money down, and then realize we didn't do anything strategic or effective. So 3 goals: elevate the customer experience, lead and collaborate with community partners to enhance the quality of life in our region, and strengthen our capacity to anticipate and respond to the demands of the region. That last one really is looking at how do we make sure that we're fitly framed as an organization, our staffing, our financial wherewithal and responsibility in our facilities. So Connect 2035 was adopted by the board in the end of 2024. We are already implementing initiatives in that plan, but before we can fully implement the plan, we'll need to ensure voters are supportive of transit going forward. That 2016 measure had a sunset clause in 2028. It said this tax will be expired unless renewed by voters. So we plan to invest more in high performance transit. Like I said, Division Street Bus Rapid Transit would be our second bus rapid transit line. Our first one carries over 750,000 riders a year, the City line. But other investments in these corridors would be to Airway Heights. Airway Heights has doubled in population in the last 15 years, doubled in ridership. They are looking for more bus service like Cheney has. And so high performance transit investments to Airway Heights in the future, doing the planning work and design work for that. Our BRT on Division Street, planning for future extensions of that corridor. And then in the Valley Corridor, looking at extending and future investments along Sprague Avenue and Appaway corridor. Mobility on demand. So this is a new framework and a new paradigm for us. It's available elsewhere in the country, where areas are not really suitable for public transit in the conventional sense of a bus lumbering down a major arterial. Let's say it's a neighborhood or community where it's lower density, the street network is less connected. Think about like the Latah Valley area of Spokane, Northwood area, north of Spokane Valley, or other parts of the West Plains that are outside the cities, say along I-90 on the south side of I-90. Having a service that's basically vans that operate on demand. So somebody opens up an app or calls a phone number, schedules a ride. That ride would be available within 10 minutes, 30 minutes. It doesn't take you like Uber or Lyft across town or to any destination. It takes you to an area in your community or to a transit hub so you can connect to the rest of the bus system. So it really is sometimes they call first mile, last mile solution to those areas that are within our service district, but not accessible by conventional transit. So we're looking to launch some of those pilots this year, end of this year. Other examples, getting more shelters out there in the system. We have 1,700 bus stops. About 150 of them have shelters in addition to transit centers and whatnot. Over 2/3 of our riders, or about 2/3 of our riders, experience waiting for a bus at a passenger sheltered stop. And yet there are still locations that have pretty good ridership that don't have it. Most of the time, it's a challenge of right of way. It's a complicated process, acquiring right of way, working with the neighboring properties. But we are going to pursue more of those locations, also retrofit shelters, some of our older shelters that don't have lighting. Our Transit Ambassador Program is a new program delivering a better experience to our riders, providing uniformed employees out there. They're not security guards. They're helping people understand the rules, but also where to catch the bus, how to ride the bus. And it's been a really positive experience. They're also tracking data to report to us so we know where the hotspots are of different issues. I will say, contrary to public, popular opinion, the greatest impact, negative source of behavior is teenage riders. So as much as we love our high school students, they also can be challenging. So these transit ambassadors can really helpful for that. And then also just improving the efficiency of the system overall. We are the region's public transportation. We are providing investment in the community to get people where they need to go. We also are seeing people want to be by transit. In fact, when we look at housing, just as one example, over the last decade, 26,000 housing units, majority of those, 56%, are being built near transit, within a 10-minute walk of transit. Most of the jobs in the region are by transit. So it's really important. Transit is a key activator of job sites, of education opportunities, and we envision continuing that in the future. So that 0.2 cent sales tax, again, is up for renewal in the next couple of years. The board will decide when that comes up on the ballot, whether it's as early as this year or as late as 2028. But in order to sustain that service and in order to make those investments, if we don't have that renewal, then the funds would be used to sustain service at a lower tax rate for a number of years. But eventually we would have to cut the services that we've added to the system. Otherwise, we're in a position to improve service by making these one-time investments, making these pilot programs happen, and allowing this investment in public transportation benefit all the communities we serve. So I'm happy to answer any questions you may have, any comments or remarks.
One quick one. Thanks for your info there. That's really cool. And Cheney's benefited a lot from SDA, so that's been really great. And I think that majority of that is from Chris doing a great job on the SDA board, and so that's been great representation. I just had a quick question. What's your yearly budget?
So our budget's about $140 million in operating costs. So we are effectively up there with City of Spokane Valley in terms of size of municipal government, 800 employees. And so most of them are maintaining or operating a van or bus. And as far as our costs, one of the things we do in transit, we measure our costs, unit costs, and we continue to be below our peers in terms of the cost per hour of service delivered. But it is a significant investment in the region. And about $8 million a year comes from bus rider and paratransit rider fares. It's been stable over the years. It was higher pre-pandemic when we had more riders paying, because the students now 18 and younger don't pay. And that also, EWU, the Running Start students, or my 18-year-old who attends EWU and lives here in Cheney, there's no payment by EWU for that student until they turn 19.
Could you repeat how much that was for riders?
About $8 million a year.
8 million.
It's still really significant. If you think about a 10-year span, like 2035, that 10-year period is $80 million. It would be a significant reduction of projects. We do have some people who talk about free fares. The board's policy has been, it's an important contributor to providing more service. It also engages the rider in investing in the system and having that accountability measure just for the general public. And we see, again, more services provided as a result. Thank you so much for the extra time.
Thank you.
And thank you so much, Shelley, for working through those technical difficulties. No worries.
Thank you.
Mayor.
Yeah, I was gonna say, thank you for coming out. We obviously appreciate your partnership and investment. Absolutely love those double-decker buses. So
Yeah.
thank you again.
Those are really cool. Thank you.
Have a good night.
Thank you, you too. Another information item, employee recognition.
Just give me a.
Yep, take your time. Thank you. Yep, yeah, yeah, it is. You want this one?
Right. The city of Cheney is deeply grateful to Cindy Niemeyer for 39 years of dedicated service, commitment, and heart. Cindy began her career in the city in May of 1987 as a part-time collection clerk. Never imagined her whole role would grow into a lifelong career in public service. Within just 6 months, her talent and work ethic were clear, and she stepped into the role as city treasurer. In time, she became the city's finance director, a position she held with integrity, care, and quiet strength for decades. Throughout her career, Cindy worked alongside 7 different mayors, serving as steady and trusted presence through changing administrations, evolving policies, and countless city milestones. No matter the challenge, she was the person people relied on, especially me sometimes. Thoughtful, thorough, and always focused on doing what was best for the city. Her accomplishments speak volumes. Clean audits year after year, very, very important. And an A+ bond rating, which we received last year. And in recent successful remodel of the finance department. But some of Cindy's favorite memories, and I remember this, reflects on her genuine love for city service, such as climbing a fire truck ladder, entering a burning building during training exercise, and even getting to drive the fire truck. Cindy's dedication extended far beyond the office. For many years, she made 1.5 to 2-hour trips, commute each day, nearly 30 miles each way. Often in difficult weather, she showed up every day because her work mattered, because she cared deeply about the city of Cheney. More than a finance director, Cindy has been a mentor, a trusted problem solver, and a steady source of wisdom. Her influence has shaped this organization in meaningful and enduring ways, and her legacy will continue to live within the city she so faithfully served. With heartfelt appreciation and gratitude, the city of Cheney honors Cindy's 39 remarkable years of service and wishes her happiness, fulfillment, and well-earned enjoyment in the next chapter of her life. So Cindy?
No, it's not just one person that does it though. I've had remarkable people work with me over the course of my career here. I've had steady staff. We're starting to leave now, but that helps. That helps that continuity, that historical knowledge. I've had great department heads that I work with, and even here. I've had great administrators, great mayors, great council. I'm blessed. I've been very blessed. I've been able to put my stamp on the city. Cheney means a lot to me. As I've told everybody, I'll pick up my phone. I have no desire to see the city go through any kind of a scary situation. I will pick up my phone and I will answer. And the success of Cheney, well, it's always meant a lot to me in my heart. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Cindy. Thank you. Thank you, Todd. That was very sweet. And really only fitting coming from you. So thank you. At this time, we are going to transition to an executive session. It is 6:34. And so we will be back in 10 minutes at 6:44. Perfect. So we'll reconvene at 6:45. And so the reason for this executive session is RCW 4230 And I need to read this? Okay, so it is to discuss with legal counsel representing the agency matters relating to agency enforcement actions, or to discuss with legal counsel representing the agency litigation or potential litigation to which the agency, the governing body, or a member acting in an official capacity is or is likely to become a party when public knowledge regarding the discussion is likely to result in an adverse legal or financial consequence to the agency. So we'll ask you, the public, to step out and. Oh, correct. Action will be taken when you return. And we need Mike to stay, Todd to stay, city council to stay, and I believe that's it. So, thank you. I have no idea how to do that. You took that down one notch. What down? Carrie's on it. Thank you, Carrie. We all dressed like it wasn't 50 today.
I know.
Classic January.
Yeah. Such a good June. Thank you.
I wore this earlier.
It looked like spring.
I know, which I am now ready for. I love the snow.
All right. All right, we will pick back up with our action items and we're going to hear some resolutions. The first one is from Cindy about our Washington State investment pool.
Since I'm leaving, we have to change up just who's allowed to access our city funds and the Washington State Investment Pool. So the city combines all of our unused cash flow and it is sent to Washington State. We're the state treasurer. They have a Washington State Investment Pool. They have a person that handles all that. We are combined with everyone else's excess cash, so they're able to get us a better rate. It's totally liquid. If all of a sudden we needed our money, we could have it tomorrow. And it works out great for cities the size of ours because that way we don't have to go out and buy and have a broker. We don't have to RFP a broker, pay for that. They do all of that for us. We get monthly interest. Works out great. So what this is going to do is this is going to allow Mayor Martin to now select Marnie as the person that is the, I guess, distributor of who gets to access the account. So I'm asking for approval of resolution F456, please.
Your Honor, we discussed this in Finance Committee, and if there are no further questions or no questions, I'd make a motion to approve F456.
Second.
Been motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. So resolution F456 passes. Resolution F457, Mr. Marks, about 0 dB pole attachment transfers.
Always get up here, try throat. I'm allergic to something in here. About 40 years ago. Thank you, and excuse me. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Light Department seeking approval of a contract with 0 dB for pole attachment transfers, and this is transferring city fiber to a new pole. We have several poles that go from Spotted Road out at Highway 90 to the city through Anderson Jensen Road. Inland has replaced those poles, which they plant a new one by the old one. Then we have to conduct our own equipment pole transfer. The Light Department does not do that. We don't have the equipment to move fiber. They do. They're an on-call contractor. And I think the list had 20 poles named. Their bid was $14,348. Then you add in tax and about a 15% contingency for scope creep if we see something else out there. And also they'll place additional guys, which are stabilizers on those poles once we put that additional weight on there. And they do have mini excavator and things there also in case they have to dig down. So I'm looking for approval of $18,000. And the 2026 budget, I have 40,000 budgeted for poles, fiber maintenance and repairs. So it's funded for this year. Are there any questions?
Your Honor, we discussed this at Public Works. One really quick comment. I thought we had talked about upping the contingency to 20 or 25%. Was this not this one?
This is already submitted.
This one was submitted. Okay, we were talking about, generally speaking, on smaller contracts, upping the contingency so they don't have to come back on, if there's $1,000 or $2,000 over on a $15,000 to $20,000 contract. Thank you for correcting me. If there are no questions, I would make a motion to approve F-457.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor of approving F-457?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. So resolution F-457 passes. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Ferguson for resolution F-458, well 7 pump replacement.
Yes, we're in the middle of our well 7 rehab. We brought the resolution F-429 to you in, I believe, October of last year. That's for removal of the pump, column, shaft for well 7, cleaning the casing. And then the intent was to see if we could rebuild pump 7 and put it back in and reutilize it. The contractor determined once it came out, the pump holes were too worn in order, excuse me, Steve's name, in order to rebuild the pump. So the recommendation from them is to replace the pump. So we're asking for appropriation increase of $14,000 and, $14,800 for the purchase of the pump. There'll be some offset costs in the original contract for the rebuild and some other things that'll be removed from that to make up the difference. So with the appropriations, we buy the pump, get it in the ground and in service hopefully for spring irrigation season. If you have any questions, I'm glad to answer them.
Your Honor, we also discussed this at Public Works Subcommittee. If there are no questions, I would make a motion to approve 458.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. So those in favor of approving resolution F-458? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Resolution F-458 passes. Thank you. All right, the next one is resolution F-459, the Safer Grant. Thank you, Chief Jenkins.
Man, I'm gonna bring my water.
That's a good idea.
Gracious. Thank you, Honorable Mayor Martin and City Council. I'll wait for Shelley to get a presentation up. If you so desire for me to present you with some information that I was hoping to present back in last November, but the opportunity didn't present itself. And I did place a backup copy in front of you just in case technology failed, because trust me, nobody wants to see me dance. My wife would attest to that. So are we ready here, Shelley? Thank you. I would like to open up with just thanking you for your time, thanking me for the opportunity to be able to place this before you again this evening. I only aim to give you the facts, to give you the information as I know it, so you can make an informed decision, whatever decision that may be. And so hopefully I was able to go through and capture some of the questions and concerns out of the previous city council meetings. Am I doing this thing wrong? Just a delay. I'd like to start off with the elephant in the room. And the elephant in the room in this case is how are we going to afford this grant? It's a very real problem. It's a very serious problem that I would like for, all of us to take very seriously. However, I'd like to pivot just a little bit. For me, it's about the why. And if I keep doing some soul searching, asking myself, why has this grant been so important? And it's the why behind it. And I think if we maybe focus just a little bit this evening on the why, the how becomes a little bit less important. There was some questions, confusion starting off about, what did Washington Code have to say with regards to the topic? So I wanted to put that here before you. Firefighters shall not, will not engage in interior structural firefighting without having at least 2 in, 2 out. There is a caveat to that, and it's the aforementioned paragraph within the WAC, paragraph 4, that says you can do it with 3 firefighters, but only to make entry for a known viable rescue. Where are they getting this information from? Straight out of NFPA. Now, I know Washington State as a whole has adopted the International Fire Codes, not the National Fire Protection Association codes. However, the industry relies heavily on NFPA as a guiding founding core documentation on how we should provide service to our communities. And just to be clear, it's an OSHA mandate. The 2 in, 2 out is an OSHA mandate. And that's what guided NFPA, and that's what has influenced our WAC. Thank you, Shelley. That little thing at the top there is throwing me off. So NFPA provides a minimum standard for us organizations. It's just a benchmark. It's a bar. We don't have anything across the fire service like the police department does. It says you shall will follow. It's a guiding founding documentation unless you adopt the NFPAs. But it does set the minimum standards of how we should be providing and delivering service to our communities. WSRB, if you're not familiar with that, that's our Washington Survey and Ratings Bureau. They give us an insurance score, and that score is assessed every 5 years. There's a lot of language within WSRB that's directly parallel to NFPA, even though Washington State has not adopted NFPA. Language in the WAC was delivered by NFPA, as I had mentioned, the standards based on extensive, objective data and science and research. There's a plethora of information out there at your fingertip if you so desire that you can go and do research on this topic. Back in 1991, NIST, for some reason, shape, or form, said, how do we scientifically objectify the resources and the amount of firefighters we need to make a difference on stopping the progression of a fire? And that's clear back in 1991. And so they did extensive research to formulate the standard. I agree. While they were not always legally mandatory, it does set the minimum benchmark. Thank you, Shelley. Other way, please. We're going to be here all night. All right, so there's been a lot of discussion about the liabilities and legalities here in Washington State. Sure, has the state of Washington ever sued a municipality or a fire district for not having enough firefighters on the ground? Not that we can find. However, that doesn't prevent us from what we should be doing morally and ethically. If we know that morally and ethically it's not the best thing for our firefighters and our citizens, we should make heavy consideration to what is the moral and ethical thing to do here. Just in November of 2025, a widow and her daughter was awarded a $31.5 million lawsuit because the spouse, the father, perished in a fire where they didn't have enough firefighters on scene. The direct findings there, they didn't have enough personnel. I think that spouse, that widow, would gladly give up the $31.5 million to have her husband back. I'm only scratching the surface of what NFPA recommends with the 2 in, 2 out. NFPA recommends actually 15 firefighters within the first 8 minutes of a fire. That's the full standard for a career fire department, which is what we are governed underneath of since we have career firefighters on staff. So 8 minutes or less for 15 firefighters to be effective. I wanted to underscore the little thing called flashover. That's just simply science that backs that up. Within 3 to 5 minutes, today's structural fires flash over. What that means, I can start a fire in the corner of this room in a trash can, and within 3 to 5 minutes, this whole room will eventually ignite into flames. We will raise the temperature. The fire will raise the temperature in the room to the point that everything spontaneously ignites. No one, not even firefighters, can survive a flashover. So it's a race against the clock. I'll underscore here, no one survives flashover 3 to 5 minutes. By the time you recognize that there is an emergency, potentially at your home, that you have something cooking on your stove and it catches on fire, and then your smoke detector finally picks it up, and then you come running from the living room, the bathroom, from the bedroom, wherever you are, asleep, which is a very common thing in our industry. The first initial reaction is try to put the fire out. And then you realize that's not successful. And then you call 911 and they start asking you a bunch of questions. First thing they like for you to do is get everybody out of the house. Seconds are making a big difference. A fire doubles in size approximately every 30 seconds. So not just for fires, I also wanted to put up here what we do the majority of, which is very common in the fire service. 75% of the time here in the city of Cheney, it's for medical calls, which is right about par for what the national average is. You know, so imagine 3 to 5 minutes of someone being unconscious, having a stroke, brain cells begin to die. And by the time you get to 8 to 10 minutes, the probability of survivability is significantly reduced. I'm going to skip showing you a 2.5-minute video. You're free to go and pull any of these videos up, but this is one of the most recent under UL studies that did what they called legacy fuels back in the day when 1991, when NIST actually did their study on how many firefighters does it take to put a fire out. We had legacy fuels, you know, our grandparents owned drapes that were made out of cotton material. We had hardwood lumber. Nowadays, our homes are filled with synthetic fibers that ignite at a rapid pace. So if you watch the 2.5-minute video, I think you'd be pretty astounded at how quickly the synthetic modern day fuel load ignites into flames. I showed this to you all, I think it was in 2023 budget for 2024. You know, this is a problem that I'm presenting to you all today, but it's a problem that's been manifesting for the last 60 years, and that's staffing in the fire service. You know, I'd like to say almost every fire department across the United States started with volunteer firefighters. And that sustained this great nation for many years. But we're living in a day and an age where people just don't have the bandwidth or the time to want to volunteer. So as you can see that here for the city of Cheney, we are way outpacing our 911 calls compared to what we have for staffing. And so what that really translates into of 2,300 emergencies that we had for 2025, approximately 500 of those emergencies are doubled up. We're asking our firefighters to pick and choose which emergency should they go to first. And I don't think that's fair on them. We've led Spokane County 2 years back to back per capita on the highest amount of 911 call growth. And I'm comparing the city of Spokane, Spokane Valley Fire Department. We're up 52% in the last 5 years. I think there needs to be some clarity about our staffing by going back and listening to the previous city council meetings. What have we brought on? What changes have we made? So I wanted to put this depiction together. When I started with the city back in 2017, we had 9 operational firefighters plus myself and our secretary. When our secretary of 44 years announced that she was going to retire, my first reaction was, no, you're not, get back to work. And then I went down and I talked to our city administration and I said, hey, if I'm not able to obtain another secretary, I'd like to convert that position to a deputy fire chief. And so we promoted for the first ever in the history of Cheney Fire Department, a battalion chief off the line to be the first ever deputy chief to help me with the administrative workload to make sure that those 9 firefighters are well-trained, well-equipped, to go out and do their job. The trade-off there is that we downgraded the battalion chiefs to captains, which was a net savings of about $35,000, which helped offset the cost of promoting Deputy Chief Anderson and back to the first ever deputy chief. Not quite a zero-sum gain, but we were able to bridge the gap pretty close. So what have we really done since I've been here? We brought on a fire marshal and a 10th firefighter. To dive a little deeper, why did I do that? A lot of programs that fire departments have to manage, that we have to run, just like running a business. And so now what it allows us to do is that the 3 chiefs at the top are able to run all programmatic initiatives. It allows us to do fair representation, to represent Cheney in the greater region on regional issues and conversations. But more importantly, it allows our operational firefighters to focus on the core of their existence. You know, when we hire or a volunteer or a career firefighter, The only thing I can tell their loved ones is that I can't guarantee your loved members coming home tomorrow, but I can guarantee you that Cheney is going to give you the best equipment and the best training we can afford. And so it allows our operational firefighters to keep up with some of the tempo that we're seeing, the 52% increase in call volume. Write good reports. Every time we go out, we have to write a report. It's the day and age we're living in where everything has to be documented. It has to be documented well. As Shelley would attest, we're getting hammered with public records requests like crazy. And a lot of those are our medical reports. But most importantly is that we're mandated, like many states, that we have to obtain 300 to 400 hours of training per firefighter every single year. And it doesn't differentiate if you're a volunteer or a career firefighter. So for those of you that don't know how the fire service normally operates, and I'm not diminishing your knowledge, but I am caught off guard sometimes when the citizens don't realize, wait a minute, you live there for 24 hours? Wait a minute, you sleep at the fire department? So I wanted to just break down a depiction. Yes, there's 3 shifts. And so if A shift is working today, that means B shift and C shift is off. So that's a 1 on, 2 off is what we call that. Work 24 hours on, 48 hours off, or an average of 52 hours a week. When I got to the fire department, by the time someone called in sick, someone took a vacation day, someone had what we call a Kelly day off. They get 1 day a month, 14 a year. And when I call that our weekend in the fire service, you get a 1 weekend off a month, if you will. 90% of the time, we were running with 2 firefighters on duty. And please feel free to ask questions if I need to stop and pause. Been some questions about our volunteer staffing. You know, you can walk the halls of the Cheney Fire Department and you can see, one, we are the oldest fire department in Spokane County, formed before City of Spokane Fire Department. But the halls will show the legacy of a legacy of longstanding volunteers. And when I got here in 2017, we had 1 volunteer left, myself and some much more intelligent individuals like Deputy Chief Anderson in the back. We sat down and we tried to revolutionize the program. I did reach unilaterally to a lot of the fire districts, to Chief Metzger over in Airway Heights. And this is the program we landed on. So as an example, just for A shift, we're asking our volunteer firefighters to come in and work 1 shift every 9 days. And if that shift falls on a Monday through Friday, then they work from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. because most of those volunteers have a daytime job. If their shift falls on a weekend, then we ask them to come in and pull a weekend 24-hour shift, which generally is about once every 2 months. And that's where we focus in on a majority of their training that we're required to make sure they have as well. And so the algorithm is, you know, today was January 1st, volunteers 1 and 2 come in. January 2nd is B shift, 3rd is C shift. Back to January 4th, now volunteers 3 and 4 come in, so on and so forth. And that algorithm comes out to 1 every 9 days. To address the doubled and tripled up emergencies, we're trying to bifurcate ourselves as best as we can with especially brand new volunteers that are not fully qualified and certified. We never landed on a spot where we're constantly able to allow the career and the volunteers to separate to go tackle 2 calls at the same time. There's obvious pros to having a volunteer corps at the fire department. I think we would all attest that we've had a great success with our volunteer program. But the reality is that we lose 1/3 of our workforce with our volunteers every year, which is right up par with the national statistics that I can find, is that most volunteers stick around for about 24 to 32 months and then they move on. So the days of old where someone would dedicate 40 years as a volunteer firefighter is long gone. And so once again, you know, out of 18 volunteers, 6 per each shift, you know, 1/3 of the workforce is brand new, hasn't hardly been through the academy and received all their training. Another 1/3 is telling us that we're probably leaving at the end of the year. And then we have 1/3 that's our sort of core that's sticking around. And so what that means is probably on a good day, we've got 1 volunteer on duty for days like tonight. Downfall is the WSRB, our insurance rating, only gives us credit for staffing at a 3-to-1 ratio. So for every 3 volunteers, they only give us credit for 1 full-time position. So there's some downfalls with the volunteer methodology as well. The reason why I did not staff Monday through Friday, 8 8 AM to 5 PMs, because a lot of chiefs told me that you're going to have to triple or quadruple your volunteer corps just to try to secure people to come in Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, because many folks have a daytime job. Any questions with how we run the volunteer program? So a little bit more over to the SAFER. SAFER was never intended to fully fund as a fully funded mechanism for fire departments to gain staffing into perpetuity. It's just a stopgap. It's just a bridge. It's a 3-year bridge to say, hey, at the end of the 3-year term, are you able to fund and financially afford more firefighters? You know, I listed a whole litany there of things right off of SAFER's website on what it can, but what I'd like for you to focus on is that if we could consider this an opportunity, a grant opportunity and not a barrier to what we need, I feel deeply committed that, you know, with the right people in this room, we can roll our sleeves up and we can figure out what the funding, where the funding's going to come from. But we don't need to solve that problem today. Yes, there isn't a commitment that we're going to have to commit to. Another question that I've received, a few of the questions I've received is that, yes, initially when we went out for the SAFER grant writer, when we hired a SAFER grant writer, I thought, well, 2 firefighters, you know, we're sort of lopsided with 4 on one shift. If we had 2 more, make it even. And the grant writer quickly came back and said, no, Tom, you need to have 5. And why 5 is because by the time someone calls in sick, someone's on vacation, someone's on a Kelly day, the standard is 4 firefighters on duty 90% of the time. And so the anomaly there was that the grant writer wrote the grant that SAFER would fund 4 bodies and Cheney would step up to the plate and hire the 5th firefighter out of our overtime savings. So I think that's where some of the confusion came in earlier on of last year. On, is it 4 firefighters or is it 5? So the grant is written to fund 4 with us promising to hire a 5th firefighter out of overtime savings. So what I don't know is, will the grant hold us accountable to the 4 firefighters at 90% of the time, or will they hold us accountable to hiring 5 firefighters? So here's another idea. What if we just hired 4 and we made 2 of those floaters? And so what that means is by the time someone takes vacation, sick leave, has a Kelly day, these 2 floaters can float in to help bridge that gap. We could use the overtime savings to help fund at least 1 of the 4 firefighters after the sunset of the grant. Once again, I don't know if FEMA is going to look at this and say, no, you're out of compliance. You didn't promise to what you had in the grant narrative that you would hire a 5th firefighter. I can find that out for you, but I feel strongly they're going to measure us against the standard. And the standard says 4 firefighters 90% of the time. So this might be another methodology. It's not the most preferred, but it's an option. Once again, the 2 floaters, and I put that on the right hand of the screen. The 2 floaters is not going to cover all the gaps. So there's too many gaps. You know, those 12 operational firefighters inside the block, each of them get a Kelly day a month. That's 12 shifts. By the time a couple folks take vacation, you can't predict sick leave. If someone calls in sick the morning of, the floaters need to have time to be able to plan their life around that. But it's another option. It's another suggestion.
Chief, I have a quick question there. Are you assuming then that you could cut overtime in half or more?
I hate to throw a number out there so you don't hold me accountable to it, but last
Right.
year we landed at $297,000 in overtime for 10 fires.
Right.
Albeit we replaced 4 firefighters who are currently on probation, and their probationary time should be sunsetting in March of this year, which means they go back to being able to fill in for overtime positions. While firefighters on probation, they don't count towards staffing for overtime. So hopefully that answers the question. Yes, I feel very strongly if we are at full staffing, there's no reason why our overtime should be around $225,000 per year since I've been here in 8 years. Also, it's going to take about a year before we realize overtime cost savings, because we're going to potentially onboard new firefighters who won't count towards staffing until they're off probation. So it's about a year turnaround to realize that net savings. I wanted to break.
Sorry, let me just wrap my head around that. So what you're saying is this year, we'd probably have another $297,000 in
No, I don't
overtime.
think so, because we're gonna have those 4 firefighters that we onboarded last year that were just replacing bodies that the vacancies, like with Tim Steiner's retirement and those firefighters are coming off probation, hopefully, in March.
Okay.
They've been performing well. I have no concerns that they won't come off probation. And, you know, the career guys have been training them like crazy. The reason why we accrued so much overtime in 2025 is that 40% of our staffing was on probation and they couldn't count towards overtime. Does that make, hopefully I say that clear enough?
I have a question. So, with a fully staffed team, what's the expected level of overtime? Is that like mostly only in case of emergencies that there'd be overtime, or is that kind of an ongoing, just a little bit of overtime all the time?
Sure. And I didn't want to put this out on public record, but I'm okay with saying this, you know, the current contract with the union has advocated for the last several years that they'd have at a minimum as 2 firefighters on duty. Because you can only imagine what it was like back in the day when one firefighter, AKA Tim Steiner, was going to a house fire by himself, or doing a cardiac arrest or a stroke or something else crazy by himself. So they implemented years ago that they wanted to have 2 firefighters at a minimum on duty. So one of the things I'd like to work with the union is that we don't change the standard from 2. We keep the minimum staffing at 2. And on those days where we have 4 or 5 firefighters, if we drop down to even 3, it's not going to generate overtime. It would only generate overtime unless they drop below 2. Hopefully that answered your
Yeah, that
question.
helps.
Here are the financials. I know there's been a lot of questions about that. I placed another document before you from FEMA. Cindy gave me a heart attack Monday morning when I came in and saw that, you know, and one of the things I've had to learn myself is that notice of funding opportunities for these federal FEMA grants that come out every single year changes. So just because you got a grant 2 years ago, the conditions set forth for the grant probably have changed. So, you know, the $90,000 ceiling had changed from the last time we had entertained a grant for the city. And so they did affirm to me, and those are the numbers. And so FEMA says we will fund all 3 years at the first year rate, because FEMA does not care that your union negotiated these pay raises for year 2 and year 3. So that's why you see in the bottom there why year 2 is going to cost us a little bit more than year 1. And it's because of those pay raises and other expenditures into the benefits part of it, because FEMA will pay, this grant pays for salary and benefits. Nothing else, not equipment, just personnel. And so hopefully that answered the question there. You can see under salary and benefits, it increases per firefighter per year. The bottom number highlighted is why there's a difference between year 1 and year 2. And then of course it drops down to 65% of what we have to pay. Well, it increases what we have to pay on year 3. Once again, the last decade, FEMA funded this at 100%. This was the first year that the SAFER grant came out and said, no, we're not funding it at 100%. But previous SAFER grants to this year was funded at 100%. So this is what we're expected to get from FEMA in grant dollars, 1.19 million. This is our cost share for 3 years. And if we were to just simply hire 2 firefighters and not accept the grant, that's how much it would cost us to hire just 2 firefighters. So I think it's more advantageous for us to look at the FEMA grant to hire 4 firefighters than it is for us to just hire 2 financially.
And just to be clear, the grants for 4 with the 5th out of overtime savings, has there ever been a conversation about, can you use the grant dollars for 2 or 3 instead of 4? That makes sense.
I heard half of that. My apologies. Say it again.
So the grants for 4 firefighters with a 5th out of overtime savings, right? Has there been any conversations, or does the grant stipulate that we can't use the grant that we were awarded to hire 2 or 3 with grant dollars instead of the full 4?
That I don't know. Once again, I believe FEMA is going to measure us every single year against the standard. but I don't know the answer to that, and I'm more than happy to go back and ask FEMA that question. The grant writer wrote the grant to make us the most successful, or why go through the process, right? And so for every fire department that gets awarded this grant, there's literally hundreds of fire departments that applied and never received it. And so the grant writer wrote the grant with the intentions of us being successful. And so from day one, we're going to go back to FEMA and say, hey, thanks for the money, but we don't want to follow what we put in the grant narrative. I think that is a real concern as well. Yes.
Yeah. I have a follow-up to that too, because that's a good question. I've thought the same thing. But if we don't take 4, then that means we don't have overtime coverage, and we could count on continuing overtime in that $300,000 range. Is that correct? The only way we cut the overtime in half is to have 4 so that we put 1 on each shift, A and C, and then we have 2 that can float to cover Kelly days and training and all that stuff,
At a
correct?
minimum 2 to float.
Right.
What I'm recommending is that the 5th firefighter, we hire 5, which puts 5 per each shift. Is a much more sustainable staffing approach. Maybe not a financial approach, but a staffing approach would be to hire 5 firefighters, 4 with the grant, 1 we hire from our overtime savings for a total of 5. That puts 5 firefighters on each shift. That way, by the time someone takes vacation, Cali Day, in those scenarios, then we're able to sustain 4 firefighters 24/7. Any other questions about the financials? Because I know there's been a lot of questions about this. Was there anything, Cindy, that I'm missing?
So after I gave Chief a heart attack and he reached out to his FEMA rep, who came back and said, no, it's 75%. And then he reached out to his grant writer and they did the same thing. So I reached out independently to some FEMA people too, because I did find some stuff that even said in this particular grant, it did cap at the 90. So I just have some different inquiries out because I want to verify. I mean, I just think I believe you and I believe the grant writer. That really made me concerned when I was able to find information that it was going to cap at the 90. I'm like, wait a minute. And so I asked this FEMA gal, I want this in writing. I want you to clarify in writing so I can have this. And I haven't heard back from her. I think I scared her, but I will continue to reach out for that because that's the only piece that I just want to be able to tie down. I have his documentation, which I'm sure is correct. I just want to verify that on my side as well, on the financial side, that is correct. So I reached out to a few, in FEMA, some few different people on that. My experience with FEMA is they always have a cap. And so that's why I was confused why, what do you mean? There's always a cap with FEMA on everything you do. So, and the last time we had a SAFER grant, there was a cap. So I just want to make sure that you're not going to be in that situation, no matter what you do. I honestly, in any of the financials I looked at, I didn't even look at a 5th firefighter. So I have some stuff in front of you as well, kind of a summary sheet and then some backup stuff, but I didn't even look by adding the 5th firefighter to be honest. And I mean, to be fair, I guess I didn't understand that was what the reduction in overtime would be used for. I assumed the reduction in overtime would be used to fund the 4 firefighters. So I didn't realize the 5th was actually on the table as a necessity in the grant. So you don't have that information in front of you from me. I'll be happy to go back and update my financial impact with that as well and get that to you because you don't have that. So I apologize for that. I didn't know.
Okay, thank you. And I placed before you the email traffic that Cindy's referring to from FEMA. I believe the trade-off with FEMA this year is that since we're not going to fully fund this at 100%, like they have been doing for the last several years, the trade-off is they remove the cap ceiling. They're just going to pay you 75% of whatever it cost for a firefighter at your department.
So, and then based on that, with this email, it says that the cap would be, $112,436.60.
And that's the
So that's the
75% of the 149,
Yeah.
915. So if you take that 112 and times it out by 4 firefighters, that comes out to $449,746 is what FEMA will pay for those 4 firefighters for year 1.
Okay.
Quick question, Cindy. So it looks like your numbers are a little bit lower
They,
than the.
they
chief.
are a
Is
little bit
that-
different than that because I just did it based on what the actual costs were. I didn't keep it to year number one. I was just giving you that piece. I looked at it. I just did my own thing and what I thought the cost was. I estimated benefits. We estimate full family because most of these young guys come in and they have a young family.
Mhm.
So we estimate that. It may not be that. So they put theirs, they worked with Marnie to come up with a dollar amount. I looked at that independently. And so mine might have been estimated a little bit lower in some areas, but when you think about it, I was right around, I'm very close to what that was. I know that, he and I were very close and you times it by 4 for the 4. Like I said, I don't have the 5th and that might be the reason for that too,
Yeah.
is I don't have the 5th in there at all.
Yeah, I mean, 391 is a way better number than 444.
It
That
is.
Third year.
It
that's
is.
$50,000 plus half the overtime. That could be a $200,000 savings. So that's pretty good.
Yeah, I'll go back and relook at my financial thing now that I've heard this a little bit too, and I'll update that and I'll be sure and get all that to you as well within the next 2 days.
Yeah. This is
Memory
great.
serves.
Thanks, Cindy. Thanks, Chief.
When we were writing the grant with the grant writer and he was asking for a lot of the demographics, there was a whole financial spreadsheet we had to provide to the grant writer that got to and a lot of this, and I did work with Marnie, specifically Jeff worked with Marnie and the benefits package. We know that the salary rate, we knew what that was going to be, but all those benefits, we weren't exactly sure. So we did our best estimation on that algorithm. So we may be off a couple dollars left or right. But the rest of that, I feel fairly confident that those are the numbers. Any other questions?
I think this is a great presentation. Thank you. It makes the why really clear and still I'm wondering about the how. And so I don't know where those answers come from or how we learn more about that.
Got a few more slides and I'll try to sum this up for you. So I apologize. Chief Anderson and I realize that there are a lot of non-payers in any jurisdiction. So I'm not advocating, we have 4 schools, 12 churches, a state archives, a crime lab, and a whole bunch of intergovernment facilities that pay nothing in taxation that we still have to go serve. It doesn't make it right or wrong, but that is lost revenue. I do believe there's an opportunity for us to consider, rolling our sleeves up, sharpening our pencils to see if there's an opportunity here. Not singling out any one department, but we pay the light department for electricity. We pay the, utility departments for water. Those departments don't pay us in return for fire service. Part of the concerns that we have, and I've got it on the last slide I'll show you, is that where are we going to get some of this revenue from? I don't know. This is way bigger than myself. But I'm absolutely convinced that Eastern's not paying their fair, equitable share. I'm 1,000% convinced by that. All of you live in the city, you all pay $1.50 per thousand of assessed valuation. Eastern, since they're a state agency, doesn't have an assessed valuation, but they reported their self-evaluation at almost $1 billion. Simple math, that's a $1.5 million contract. And I'm not even looking at the 50-cent EMS levy. So I think there's opportunities there. I'm not saying we solely go after Eastern either. Some other ideas there is that eventually in about a year and a half, we're going to realize a true overtime savings. If we're adequately staffed to where we can maintain a proper minimum standard, then when someone takes a vacation, it doesn't drive overtime. Unlike today, if one person sneezes, I'm paying overtime. We are paying overtime. And so, I'm not going to stand before you and commit to it's going to save X amount of dollars, but I would be foolish to not think that it would have a substantial impact on the overtime savings if we're adequately staffed. Something that our fire marshal that we brought on in 2024 is implementing a fee structure, not an egregious fee structure, but it's a very common thing amongst fire marshals and fire departments to have a fee structure to help mainly curb contractors that constantly call the fire marshal out saying, I'd like to do my final inspection. And then the fire marshal shows up and they're nowhere even near ready. They know they're not ready. They just want us to go through and identify those things that that, that they can write down and say, okay, when I'm really ready, I know now I can correct all these deficiencies. And so it's not a huge moneymaker there by no stretch of the imagination. Last but not least, we could consider reducing the volunteer pool. I hate the thought of that, but it's a very real thing. We spend about 140,000 to 150 on our 18 volunteers. When a third of them are cycling through. It's a heavy lift, mainly for Deputy Chief Anderson back here to, every year he's sending volunteers through an academy. He's participating in their academy training. Then he's teaching EMT, which is 2.5 months long. And then we got 3 weeks of wildland fire training we've got to go through. And then obviously, with internally, look at our efficiencies internally to see where we can cut to help make this a reality. I'd like to leave you with this, if you don't mind. The elephant still exists, but if we focus a little bit more on the why, the how is still important. Just like the picture here describes, those folks aren't focused on the elephant. They got their head down, they got their pencil and paper, and they're trying to figure out the how. I know I've missed or I've forgotten way more than I was planning on speaking to you all about tonight. So with that, I'll just graciously say whatever questions you may have. I'd be happy to answer them.
Are there any questions?
You're all right.
Chief? Yeah.
If I may. Chief, you made a comment that you listened to the tape when we originally voted on this. And the how was the reason for the vote. It wasn't the why. I think everybody on this council, even the last council, understood the why. It's the how. My problem still today is we don't know the how. And we don't even know the how in year 4, which that number even goes up more. Not to mention if we, again, look at all the grant assurances, there's a lot more grant assurances. I can probably get by pushing some of those grant assurances away if we can figure out the how. My suggestion is we have a little, and I think we discussed this in finance committee as well. We have a little bit more time, right? What's the deadline now of the safer grant?
The deadline got pushed for everybody from the way the email
31st,
read to
right?
January 31st.
So we discussed this briefly in council or in finance committee. I think we still need to, I'm happy to discuss this further, but we really need to figure out the how. Without the how, I just don't see how this moves forward. So I think the discussion that we had, at least in finance committee, is we definitely appreciate the presentation, but figure out the next 2 weeks before we meet again, the how, iron out the how, and then bring that back. So in order for us to do that, I think we would have to defer this tonight and then hopefully offer some homework to you and come back working with finance, Marnie now, right? So to figure out the how.
Cindy said we could call her any.
And you can call us. But
I respect it. Yes, sir.
I hope you understand our position. I mean, we have financial responsibility for the entire city. Mayor just had a ceremony at 5 o'clock. We can't set her administration up for failure 2 years, 3 years, 4 years from now. We need to focus on the how. And I agree, you brought up some ideas. Let's put numbers to those ideas. Let's see what we can do. But so I guess again, I'm not here to stifle any more discussion. So if we want to have more discussion on this, that's fine. But I guess where I'm at is I would make a motion tonight to defer resolution 459 until next council meeting and request that you come back with answers on the how. So that's my motion.
And Your Honor, if I may add before discussion of council, I'd be remiss if I didn't point out the fact that there's still another little elephant out there with all these federal grants that Attorney Capon's been working on, this little thing called reservation of rights. The Keep Washington Working Act is in direct violation with a couple things within the grant. Anybody out there that's receiving these federal grants are dealing with these two of the main problems. So if you are accepting of the grant at whatever point that may be, it's solely contingent upon a FEMA accepts those conditions, or else we would be in direct violation with our own state law.
So, so I guess I'm okay with moving this, to deferring it to the next meeting, but also,
Is that a second?
no, not yet.
Okay.
I'm still discussing.
Great.
Sorry, is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. I guess a couple questions. I mean, I would, in addition to figuring out more of the how, I know, Chief mentioned that this is a bigger thing than maybe just one person or like just two departments could tackle on their own. So I don't know if we could come up with like a way to give him like a working committee or some sort of working group from maybe the safety committee and finance or something to like a little tiger team or something like that to help kind of put something together so that we can have it back. So it's not just all on a couple people. And then I would also be interested in seeing the specific language from Mike on what we would be sending in with the grant. Yeah, that would make me feel better personally. I feel like we're within our right to do that, and it was just
Already vetted some of that language with the Attorney General's office.
okay.
So, yeah.
That would be great. Vince, yes, sure. I will second Vince's motion to defer with.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyone who has not had an opportunity to comment or question, would you like to have an opportunity to discuss this?
I just want to kind of add on to what we already discussed. I do think it would be helpful to have numbers, even if it's a range. Like we know we're not going to know exact numbers of what the savings are going to be or where funding is going to come from, but to see a range would be really helpful. But so I'm in agreement with that, deferring it.
I just had one quick question, which kind of might be a little off topic at the moment. Earlier you'd mentioned that it impacts our insurance ratings. Does that impact individual like homeowner insurance ratings as well? So there could be potentially be a savings for the citizens in the long run as well, correct?
That is correct. In
Okay.
2027, we're going back up for our 5-year review.
Okay. Well, we won't probably have a number on that, but generally speaking, we could expect.
Well, my concern, and I maybe I sent this to council last year, so I ought to send it to you again. Our last review that we went through, that the fire department portion breaks that out, had us teetering staffing. We received the lowest score in the fire department weighted score of 4 categories. That number is only going to get worse as time goes on, and it's mainly due to the frequency of the emergencies that we're getting now. As our emergencies increase, our responses are becoming more and more delayed. That trend is getting worse. And so WSRB will quickly pick up on that. So our score will trend worse as time goes along, which impacts all insurance scores. Now, what insurance companies do with that is a big debate in all the states.
Anyone else want to make a comment? All right, so there's a motion and a second to defer resolution F459 to be discussed and voted on January 27th, 2026. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so the motion to defer resolution F459 has passed. All right, thank you, Chief. We have no ordinances, but there is some other business for city council members to conduct. So, the procedure for selection of our mayor pro tem is not outlined, but we propose some city council rules to you, so we'll follow that rule. So, each of you will have an opportunity to make a nomination of one of the council members, and you each have an opportunity to nominate one person. If you are nominated and would not like to accept that nomination, that is fine. So we'll go down the line, and if you have someone you'd like to nominate, you can nominate them, and if you would not like to nominate someone, you can just pass. So Councilmember Hahn, would you like to nominate?
I will nominate Vince Bartels.
Thank you. Councilmember Bartels?
Accept the nomination. Do we have to have a runoff?
No, we don't have to have a runoff. So if you don't have anyone to nominate, you don't have to nominate anyone.
I mean, I would accept the nomination,
Okay.
but if we did want to have a second one, I guess I would Mark Postum.
Okay.
And I would nominate Vince as well.
I would nominate Mark.
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 Okay, great. So we have two people nominated, and I believe the process is just a voice vote, correct? This is what happens when you don't charge your computers.
Nominations require a second. I think we had that.
Correct, sorry.
Nominations are made. The mayor will call for a vote on the nominations in the order they were made. You can do that by voice or recorded vote.
Okay, so we'll do that by voice. So, and this, I should also say, this will be a 2-year term, so we'll do this again in 2 years. So votes for Vince, and do we just go down the line again? Or do we just say A? Okay. Okay, so all in favor for Vince? Would say aye now.
Hi.
Okay, and in favor of Mark?
Aye.
Okay, so I think there's 4 votes for Mark. I did not give you the opportunity to accept or decline that nomination.
I would accept it if the
Okay.
council is full.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, so that sounds like that. You are now Mayor Pro Tem.
That means you can never go on vacation.
Yes, sir. Okay. Is that recorded? Okay. This point, staff reports. So do staff reports, sorry, staff, council reports, staff. Todd, since you've been here for 2 hours. Yeah.
But thank you for the opportunity. I think it's just a transition that I'm here. And it's to fill the mayor's city administration outlook. And we do have applications out right now. So that's important. Finance director is another important one that we're looking at as well. And then also the police chief is also out through the WASP. So happy to fill in the best I can for the short amount of term, but I have nothing to report because I have not been attending
Just
too
got
much.
here.
I've been on kind of a retirement, but it was nice rest and be happy to get back into the swing of things. Thank you.
Thank you. I think that's all for our staff reports. So, oh, yes, ma'am. Yes, please.
Don't know Marnie, I'd like to introduce Marnie.
Oh, thank you.
She's going to be our finance director. So if you need something financial, she's your girl. I would like to recognize the new website. I'm hoping everyone's seen it. It's awesome. I love the energetic colors. Love to recognize Councilmember Bartels, and I'd like to recognize Miley Schneider. She's worked for 7 months on this. It has been a refresh since March. They worked very closely. It's her baby. It is her baby. She, and she's pretty happy with it, and I'm extremely happy with it. So I just wanted to realize all the work that she's done on that. Also, as a result of your meeting, a special meeting last time, we have redesigned the council action form. So as you receive agenda items, there is now a financial impact piece on it. So you'll be able to tell if they're budgeted, if not, whether they're not going to do, if they're going to do that. I think Steve was a good example today when he said, well, I have this budget, but I'm going to move this money up to here and this is enough, so I think that's kind of the information we're trying to gain on that. There is a space on it. It's on the council committee or not. And if it hasn't, like for instance, I did not take the state investment pool to council committee. So I would put a note on the new form and say, this didn't go to committee. It's just a housekeeping item, more or less. So I'm hoping that works out and gives you more information. And that's just a direct result of our last meeting. So I just wanted to take that. Thank you.
Thank you. No, I think we're finished with staff reports. Okay, so I guess it's me. I would also like to second your comments about the website. Vince, it looks great. It's very user-friendly. Miley did a great job, and there's still some kinks to be worked out, but it looks very sharp. So thank you. And also I want to recognize Cindy. Thank you for 39 years of service to our city. And it's a job, and you're leaving big shoes to fill. So thank you for serving here. Yeah. Yeah. Council reports.
Well, I've already learned a lot this very first night. And I just want to thank city employees for all of the hard work that you do to keep our city up and running, and for the citizens who are here and attending online for being interested in what happens in our city and invested in positive growth.
Todd, welcome back. Thank you.
Yeah.
Really, thank you. Marty, you do have big shoes to fill. Cindy, enjoy your retirement. Thank you for everything you've done for 39+ years. And thank you for being willing to be accessible as we go through this transition. And then I'd like to say, really, with the website, Miley did all the heavy lifting. She tremendous and great vision and love the color scheme, everything. So I can't take any credit. Credit goes to her. So thank you.
Yeah, I'd also like to say, thank you to Cindy. You've been very helpful to me over 4 years. You've answered a lot of questions. So thank you for always being available and putting up with me trying to figure everything out. So thank you so much for that. Also, I just want to say great website too. Have looked at it a couple times, and I appreciate Miley's heavy lifting. I will say, Vince, thanks for being humble, but Vince did have some really good ideas for the website as well, and those got in it. And so I'm thankful for those as well. And then lastly, I just want to say, I think the next 2 weeks as we prepare to talk about the SAFER grant again is really important. And I think all of us should do our due diligence to look at numbers and think about how important this is for our city, and to think about not only the financial implications, but also the implications of our department and its wholeness and our ability to do what we're called to do as a city. And I also believe that the SAFER grant is important because when we get to year 3 and it becomes maybe a little bit challenging financially, I think that it will create maybe some possible stress for us that will require us to make some solutions or find some solutions that we either need to do financially or to do something to serve our citizens in a better way and in a different way. And so the impetus for change, I think, is great, and I think is important for our department for sure. So I think it's a serious thing, and we need to think about the hows and we need to think about the whys. And so I think we should do that over the next couple of weeks. So thank you, everybody. And Cindy, Hawaii's in your future, I think.
Councilmember Long. Yeah, so I'm just gonna echo basically what everyone else has said. Learned a lot in the last couple weeks. And welcome back, Todd. Nice to see you. I'm really glad to have you back. And thank you, Cindy. I've only been here day 13 in my term, but you've helped me this morning a ton, and I really appreciated the quick last minute download to help get me up to speed. That was very much appreciated. And Marie, hope forward to working with you. Yeah, and then the website, awesome. I'm very excited to see that. I'm excited to see the next stuff. I heard we have some social media things kind of in the works, which will be really good to bring out more transparency and help get the word out on how and what we're doing over here. So I think that'll be great. Really excited. Thank you. Yeah. Councilwoman Sabella.
Thank you, Cindy. Welcome back, Todd. And yeah, I'm really excited. I think new mayor, new council. I'm really excited for this year ahead. So that's it.
Thank you.
Cindy, who are we supposed to turn to now when we have IT problems? But yeah, speaking on the website, it looks fantastic. And one thing I wanted to draw people's attention to is there's a page now on our website that is just for volunteer opportunities in our city. So if you're looking for a way of giving back to the community or a way to get further involved, we now have a dedicated spot that you can look for upcoming volunteer opportunities and reoccurring volunteer opportunities. So I think that's super neat. And speaking of volunteer stuff, I think it would be really nice to have an ad hoc committee formed between finance and public safety over the next week or so to really dive into the how, to come back with some good information for the next city council meeting. Right.
Thank you.
It's hard to be at the end. I don't have anything new to say. But thank you, Cindy. I appreciate you. Todd, I'm glad you're back. Thank you for the presentation. And yeah, I'm looking forward to the year ahead. It's gonna be great.
Cool.
That's it.
With that, our meeting is, it's not adjourned. It's, what's the word? Concluded. Thank you, everyone. Say adjourned every time.
That
You
feels
guys did it.
proper, you
I
know,
know.
but.
Wasn't expecting.
I'm gonna bring it.
Thank you.